like that, we are back. Thank you for tuning in to the Cozy Corner of Cinema. This is episode number 122, being recorded on Saturday, July 27th, 2024 at 12:14 p.m. We are finally past the oppressive heat, and I'm looking outside now, and it looks to be an absolutely gorgeous day. It's the best kind of day to get some driving done. If you need to go somewhere, you go out there and you roll down your windows. It's a beautiful kind of crisp breeze in the air, and it reminds us of films like American Graffiti or Dazed and Confused, because when we're driving around, man, we have Bluetooth in our cars, and or you got a CD player, or you got maybe a cassette player, or anything of the sort. But we think back to these films where these kids are listening to the radio, and you will find yourself exposed to new music, new sounds that you wouldn't previously have been turned on to. And it's great to be at a red light and you just hear music from somebody else's car, and you just know they're enjoying themselves, presumably so if they're choosing to listen to whatever they're listening to, or a podcast, or the radio itself, man. It's I haven't listened to the radio in quite a while. I'll admit I almost exclusively use Bluetooth in my car to listen to podcasts, primarily. But music often, on especially on some certain days when you just have the music on and the song hits just right. It's a truly magical experience. It's especially if you're in a rural area like myself, you're not, in the city with tons of just noise pollution and just complete headaches. You're out here and it's just, you hear the birds singing. You just get a total sense of relaxation and a total sense of just pure nirvana, being alive at this time. It's just a wonderful, wonderful time to be alive, and no day is guaranteed. So that's why we must utilize every day to the absolute fullest extent, and to be completely focused on life's work and life's goals, and achieving that however which way we feel we can. Because ultimately, I know I'm gonna be, when the Grim Reaper comes knocking for me. You can't bargain with the dude. He's not, he doesn't take no for an answer. So there's no way I'm ever going to completely watch every single film I want to see. There's no way I'm going to read everything, every book I want to read. There's no way I'm going to complete every writing I want to complete. But with the time that is given to us, and it is a gift after all, to make it to the most that we can every single day. And if that means going out and socializing and seeing friends, lovers, acquaintances, family, then God bless you. Or if you're like me and you want to utilize the days to get life's work, specifically this life's work, achieved, then got to utilize that and be very firm in how you choose to live your life and not be a passenger in your own life. It's just a wonderful time to be alive right now, and my gosh, man, it's just I gotta go out later, and it's gonna be fantastic, man. It's gonna be really, really excellent. But yeah, utilize these days to the fullest extent, man. Go for a walk, open a window, get some reading done, get some writing done, whatever it is, man. Get some watching done. Work on, if you're learning an instrument, maybe you want to learn how to play the guitar or the drums or anything of the sort. Make sure you're putting in the hours. And it's like it's like guys who work out, man. It's like, all right, well, you did a workout session and you lifted, and oh man, my arms are they're sore, they're heavy. And what are you gonna do the next day? You're gonna go back and you're gonna keep lifting and lifting, and that's how you see these guys who are just total bodybuilders and total like Greek statues in a way. They didn't get that just from sitting around and eating potato chips. If that's what you want to do, then God bless you, man, go for it. But they really kind of kept at it, and now they get to reap the benefits and the rewards, and it's a wonderful thing to accomplish. So it's all about being consistent with yourself, being true to yourself, not letting outside influence kind of negate whatever it is you hope to achieve. It's just a beautiful time to be alive, is what I'm saying, man. And especially when people talk about, oh, this year is going by so fast, this day is going by so fast, da 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 da. It's like that's why we got to really kind of take a step back and really kind of plant our feet, which I guess is kind of a contradictory sort of statement. Take a step back and then plant your feet. Plant your feet, man, and really kind of just be aware. You know, if you're gonna drive somewhere, don't be thinking about like, oh, I can't wait to get there, can't wait to get there, because you know, just enjoy the ride that you have. If you're at work and you're like, oh, I can't wait for Friday, I'm gonna do this and that. Don't just hope for a fast week, man. Just really kind of in that moment realize, hey, man, my life, I'm living my life right now. I ain't looking forward to, people who are event driven people who are like, oh, next month I'm gonna do this, and then next month I'm gonna do that. Next month it's like, brother, what are you gonna do today? It's like you may not even make it to next month, and that doesn't mean to be scared of just the fact that, oh man, we all gotta expire sometime. That's life. The fact we are even here at all is such a minuscule statistic. So each and every one of us and our loved ones, our acquaintances, friends, family, whoever it is, our pets, our cats, and our dogs, and our birds and hamsters and all that. I mean, it's sort of like we're put here for a reason, man, and whatever that reason is up for you to kind of discover for yourself. And I was here to get life's work accomplished, and that's what I intend to do, man. And with this past week, with plenty of worthwhile film to talk about, we're going to jump into the first film of the day, and we're going to jump to 2005 of a film that I had been familiar with. This cover always stood out to me, but I hadn't seen it until recently. And if I can, well, the film itself is The Amateurs from 2005, and I don't know how widely domestic Movie Gallery was, but Blockbuster was the more common video store. But ironically, there wasn't really one around here, at least from where I lived. There was one, but it was fairly out of the way. And so movie gallery was the one. I think they were in business until about 2010 or so. But I remember at movie gallery they would have these little pamphlets every month. It was like a thin kind of, not even a pamphlet. It was like a little kind of thing you could flip through. Probably like a size of maybe like a little bit bigger than like a greeting card or something like that. But you flip through and you read about certain movies that were coming to DVD soon, and movies that would be on your radar and stuff. And they always had a little section of just like some films that I mean, I guess you could call them indie, but I wouldn't call this like an indie film. I mean, this is a star-studded cast for this, but basically smaller kind of films that may have not gotten as wide of distribution. And this cover always stood out, The Amateurs. I was like, all right, well, it looks like a film reel, The Amateurs. What the hell is this about? All right. Now, if you're looking up this film, man, and you want to watch it, the original title of this was The Moguls, and that's what it is in the film. And because I saw this was on Tubi, so I went on Tubi and I type in The Amateurs, and it doesn't come up. In fact, it probably thinks you're a dirty pervert, because I typed in amateur, I didn't even finish the word. It was giving me some nefarious looking films. I was like, nah, man, I don't need these kind of films, man. I'm trying to get to this film. So I'm like, go on the. Anyways, I ended up finding that it's under The Moguls on the app. So, anyways, man, let me get a sip of this beverage here. Make sure you're having water as well, man. Just because it's a nice day out and it's not a scorcher, you still got to remember to keep yourself hydrated. Carry a water bottle around. Just make sure you're always have access to clean water. And really just don't forget that. Everything else is cool, man. Cola is cool, beer is cool, juice is cool, but water is key. Water reigns above all else. Just don't be drinking water out of the toilet, man. That'd be ridiculous. Anyway, so what the hell was I talking about? Yeah, this film. So The Amateurs, or The Moguls. So this is one of my favorite kinds of films to discover, because I had this on. I was like, okay, this looks like kind of a some guys are making an adult film. Okay, that's great. So I'm watching this film, and it's got a star-studded cast with this. But what was interesting is that this is written and directed by this guy Michael Traeger, who this is his only directed film. He actually doesn't have many credits on IMDb. He wrote a couple of films. He wrote Dead Man on Campus from 1998 with Brendan Fraser and the other gentleman in that. I don't know who that is. Uh, Actually, you know what? I'll give him credit. I'm telling you, is it not? It's not Brandon Fraser. Who the hell's in this movie? What the hell am I thinking of, man? Tom Everett Scott and Mark Paul Gosselaar. I don't know where I got Brendan Fraser from, but it doesn't matter, man. Anyway, so he wrote that. He wrote this. I mean, he didn't. There's not really much on his resume. And I'm very curious about that. Get some of this beverage here. But anyway, so that's why I was curious that it's got such a cast because you have Jeff Bridges in the lead role, Ted Danson, Joe Pantoliano, William Fichtner, John Hawkes, Tim Blake Nelson, Janine Tripplehorn, Lauren Graham, Stephen Weber, Judy Greer. It's got a solid cast, man. So I'm watching this film, and right off the bat, the film it really kind of almost immediately kind of wins me over because I really enjoy films with people who aren't caricatures to an extent because beginning of this film we have Jeff Bridges' character Andy. He's bringing a gift to to his kid's house. He's divorced from his wife. But what I like about it is that immediately off the bat, the wife, who is played by Janine Tripplehorn, they still get along, man. It just ultimately it just didn't work out. And even the new husband, he's a cool guy. He's wealthy, man. He's got a lot of money, and but Andy, he's doing the best that he can, which is funny actually. I don't even think they mention what he does for work. I don't know what any of these people do. Most of these people do for work, man. I'm like, where the hell they get this time, man? But he's feeling kind of down because he wants to be a good father to his kid, and even his kid is understanding, man, because he gets him a gift, but the gift itself is like, it's more sentimental than anything like that. Than actually, but the kid is cool about it. He's like, hey man, I'm just happy that you're here. And it's like, all right, right off the bat, we have interesting, likable characters, and that's great, because it could have been, oh, the new husband's a jerk, he's flaunting all this money, and oh man, the wife is this, but it's like, no, man, everyone's cool. It's just, we just get the assumption that, hey, it just didn't work out between these people. And then right from there, man, we get into again, the movie really just kind of immediately kind of won me over because it's one of my favorite things in films is really small towns and the people who inhabit them. So I love in films when you have characters who are at, they go to the pub or they go to the bar and they all have their different kind of personalities. And so you got some of these characters in this film. You have Ted Danson is playing this character Moose, and there's a great running joke about everybody knows he's gay, but he does everything to show that he's not gay. So he'll be like, yeah, man, let's go get some girls. I love girls, man. It's great. You got Joe Pantoliano who plays a character ridiculous. His name is Some Idiot. So Andy's introducing the film. Yeah, that's Some Idiot. Yeah, he's a good guy. Some's a good guy. And so you have all these different characters with different quirks, and almost seemingly really out of nowhere. I mean, Andy is frustrated that he's like he doesn't really have a whole lot of money. And for really no reason at all, he's like, you know what, man, we're gonna make an adult film. We're gonna make a porno film. And the townspeople, people in this town, they're like, oh, what? All right, sure, man, why not? I mean, they get kind of past the whole like what? It feels like a reality of its own because no one's really like, what? Why don't we just make a film? Like, all right, let's make an adult film. It'll be great. So you got another one of my favorite things in films is a character has got to do research on film. So what does he do? Well, he goes to the video store and he gets a whole stack of tapes, man. And he's so enthused. He has so many tapes, man. He can't even gently place them on the counter. He's got to do an exaggerated. He just drops them all on the counter, and they scatter over the place. And the guy behind the counter is like, "Whoa, man," And I've got a great scene of him. He's got a whole stack of adult films on VHS, and he's taking notes. And he's like, he has no idea what he's doing. No one knows what they're doing. But it's the sense of community that comes together to make this film. Now, I got to say up front, a good amount of the humor was a lot of it didn't totally work for me. It's not like a laugh out loud film to me, at least. Because there's like some like a bizarre couple moments. You get like there's like a scene early on where they're trying to get everything together, but they're like passing around these like potato chips or these corn chips, and it just keeps going on. And I'm like, what's happening here? And then later on in the film, it's like, you buy certain conveniences for the sake of a comedy film, but then you have Judy Greer, whose character in the film, it's like where did this character even come from, and where that whole situation goes to. It's like, what are we doing here? So it's got a feeling like, yeah, it's a comedy, but I think what really kind of won me over with this film, I mean, aside from right off the bat, you have these characters, is the fact that you have these like characters early on, but I just really loved all these characters coming together. Maybe it's that sense of community, of filmmaking, but it's this town, this small town of people who come together for this collective sort of end goal. And it's not something like, oh, we're going to save, we got to make this film to save, the rec center, or we got to do this and that. It's all because they like each other and they enjoy each other's company. Like, we have, like, I forgot if it was William Fichtner or it was John Hawkes. One of them is like, they're a janitor at a church, and they're like, you know what, man, this is, what, we're gonna do this, man. We're gonna come together. We're gonna make this film. And really, the strongest stuff is the character interactions. There are some. What really kind of took me aback with this film that I totally didn't expect is how warm the film is. I mean, there are just some moments that almost. I mean, really, now I'm thinking about it, I'm making the hairs on my arm stand because you could say that they are overly sentimental, but I think the older I get, I find myself being more attracted to these kinds of adult characters dealing with adult situations, which is funny because I actually just watched a film yesterday that I wasn't particularly a fan of. And one of my problems in that film is that the sentimentality didn't work for me there. And perhaps that, I won't say the film, I don't want to dog any film, but I'm saying that that was a film where those are younger characters, those were high school characters. So, well, one of them was high school, the other one was a bit was older. But it's like, this doesn't really work for me. This doesn't really work. Now for here, I think because I generally like stories about older people dealing with like real kind of issues. But it's like when I'm talking about this film, one of the sequences that really got to me is that so the whole film, there's the running joke, and I guess I could even say spoiler. I don't even know if you want to. I mean, it's not really much to spoil, but I want to give at least some context to what I'm talking about. But you have Moose in the film who's like, all right, they can't get a guy for this scene, so he's like, all right, I'll have sex with this lady, and he's having trouble performing, but they're all supportive of him. They're like, all right, we'll turn our backs, and they're like, hey man, you good, everything like that, they all, time has passed, and he comes out in the living room, and he's got his robe on. He's like, guys, I can't do it. I really got to tell you something. It's like, I'm gay. And they're all like, man, we know. That's cool, man. We all love you. And it was like something about the way, the support of everybody coming together and is like, man, we love you for who you are. We all have our things. Some idiot does this and this guy does this and Moose is talking about, yeah, well, I'm the gay one now. Now I'm this, and they're like, nah, man, you're one of our friends. You're one of us, and they all come together in this big kind of group hug. And I tell you, man, it took me aback the because him being gay in the film, it's never used as a joke. I mean, a joke in the sense where they're not making fun of the guy. That's just like, hey man, he's gay, but the joke is that he has to talk about how much he loves girls and getting girls and all that. So the fact that everybody they embrace in this big hug and they're like, man, we just love you. It really got to me, man, in a way where what I was expecting was a silly comedy about some guys trying to, things going wrong, this and that. But then you just have these moments sprinkled throughout that almost take your breath away. It gives you like whiplash, like, whoa. And it might not work for some people, and that's fine. I'm not speaking for some people, I'm speaking for myself. And there's another sequence later on that I won't say because I don't want to just give everything away. But Jeff Bridges is talking to one of the female characters because she comes over. She has some doubts about something that in the film, and just their conversation together, it's so warm and it's so tender in a way that I think in part, Jeff Bridges is such a charismatic lead, not just in this film, but in general. I mean, Jeff Bridges is just one of the great actors of our time, and I think that's why when I was talking about on my favorite films of '93, Fearless is a film that I think with a lesser actor, a lot of those moments and a lot of those sequences in the film may not have worked as well, but Jeff Bridges plays it so well because he is such a charismatic actor and the lead in this film. So that's why, like, there's a scene at the end where they run out of the bar and they're dancing in the street to celebrate, and it's like, wow, man, I actually am getting like emotional watching this film. When I say emotional, man, I'm not sitting there like crying, man. I'm saying I'm getting like emotional in the way where I'm so invested in the lives of these characters. So even though the majority of the comedy really doesn't work for me, it's that sincere heartfelt sense of community coming together. It's like what I was talking about with Be Kind, Rewind, where you get into the third act of that film, where you get into the really not just specifically the third act, but this town who you could say like what this town, like what they're renting VHS tapes and in 2008, and people, I remember even when the film came out, people were like, but no one's ever gonna rent these films that they're home movies people are making, and I'm like, dude, like man, you're missing the entire point of the film when you get to the third act of that film and you just have that brilliant last sequence, and then inside the shop, and when Danny Glover's character and Mia Farrow, they walk out, and I don't want to give it away, but maybe I did give it away in the when I talked about it, I don't know, but you see what they see, and it's just like it makes the hairs on your arm stand. It's so beautiful, and it's just so touching. I mean, and I think I just love films about small towns in general, people coming together. I mean, maybe not quite a small town, but something more experimental. And one of my favorite films as well would be Dennis Hopper's The Last Movie, which is just such a wild, almost hallucinogenic whirlwind of a film from 1971, a very famous film at this point, sort of for uh, uh, kind of blacklisting Dennis Hopper from Hollywood. That's a film where they're going to this town to work on this western, and the townspeople end up, they don't understand the difference between a real life and between real life and a film. It's like they make up this bamboo like camera, and they start reenacting the film, and I mean the production of that film is well known. There's a documentary, The American Dreamer, which I've always kind of questioned a lot of the sincerity in that, but who knows. But or even something like Video Violence, if you want to go to something more genre, where you have again, you have a small town in that film, and then you have like a small kind of local video store. You have this guy's working there. He moves there with his wife, and he starts working at this video store, and it starts to become something of a mystery where these snuff films are popping up on like the shelves and all that. And people are returning the tapes, but they're snuff films. It's like, what the hell's going on here? And that's a film that's shot on video, so I mean, you can tell it's lower budgeted, but that sense of when you watch something that's lower budgeted, and when I say lower budget, I don't mean like some it's like you're making like an intentionally bad movie. That's ridiculous, man. I got no interest in any of that nonsense. But you see certain films and you just hear these stories about people who like they didn't have a lot of money, but they had people and they all came together to kind of help this vision. And I find that so incredibly touching and moving. And you can see the sincerity with certain lower budgeted films. It's just you get a real sense of, even if some shots are, they're at an angle that shouldn't be, or there's a actor flubs the dialogue. To me, that's why I say it's impossible to be objective with art, because yeah, you can look at it from a technical standpoint and go, well, okay, maybe they didn't intend for the shot to be this way, or that way, whatever. But it's like, okay, but in the context of the film, does it matter? And I say, in the context, you got to take it by the context. And it's why I don't like the statement of just like, well, I know it's a bad film, but I still like it. It's like, get the hell out of here with that, man. There's no such thing as I know it's a bad film, but I like it. It's like, no, you like it or you don't, man. That's all it is. There's no such thing as a bad movie. There's films you don't like, and that's fine. And it's just a completely ridiculous statement. But. I mean, there's films I don't like, but I'm not gonna say like that's a bad film, man. I'm gonna say, all right, I didn't like that film, man. It didn't work for me, because every film is liked by someone, no matter how low budget, no matter how small and obscure it is. Somebody likes every film. I mean, every film is liked by somebody, I should say. So it's ridiculous, man. But the Moguls just completely won me over. And it like Be Kind Rewind. It's got like the scene when they are, they're watching it, and they are like, reveling in their hard work. And from this, man, I mean, you really can't think of the script too much, because there are just some ridiculous points in the film. I mean, in the third act, there is a character Jeff Bridges has to get a ridiculously large sum of money, and he gets it almost no problem. That felt very like, I mean, there is voiceover in the film, and I wonder how much of that was done beforehand or done after the fact to explain certain situations. But it's ridiculous, man. He's like, I need to get this wild amount of money, and then the next scene he gets it. He's like, yeah, and then I talked to so and so, and then he gave me the money. It's like, brother, what? Well, what are we doing here, man? You have a character who comes out of nowhere, man, and it's like, what is happening here, man? I also do love as well. You have another character in the film, Patrick Fugit, who plays his character Emmett, who is an aspiring. He's got a camera, so he's always recording everything, and they're watching the footage on his camcorder later, and it's just the film, man. But they put a tint on it, which cracks me up. It reminds me of like in Spaceballs when they're watching Spaceballs on the ship, and it's just, but it doesn't matter, man. That's why I say like yeah, that stuff. Obviously, they're just watching they're watching the film at a certain point, but it doesn't matter because it's just the characters and the situations in this film are so heartfelt, and they won me over by the end. And this was one that perhaps it's just getting older that I find myself more attracted to these films. But even the way the film ends, like the very end of the film, not just the last shot, but yes, the last shot as well. But Jeff Bridges is like on the couch, and I won't say what's going on, but it's just so damn heartfelt. And then you get to the very last shot of the film, and it's like, man, this was just such a surprise of a film, and I don't want to. I don't want to like talk it up too much because then you're gonna get what you get out of a certain film, man. I mean, different films resonate to different people. That's why we listen to our acquaintances and our friends and our family or people whom we trust for opinions rather than going on social media and getting a random voice out of nowhere that's like, oh, this is the worst film I've ever seen in my life. It's like, dude, I don't even know you, man. I don't even know your taste in film. So I can look at my acquaintances and I can go, okay, I disagree with you on westerns or something like that. So, if they're like, maybe you love westerns and they hate westerns, but then they see western and they're like, oh, this was great. Then now that gives you context to go, okay, they don't like westerns, but they like this western. I have to check this out because that must mean something. I acquaintances of mine, they don't like musicals. That's fine. I'm very picky about musicals. But then I'll see one and I'll be like, wow, like, so that's why, I'm not as I like playing musicals, but then I see something like the remake of West Side Story, and I'm like, wow, that was fantastic. So then my acquaintances who know I'm a little bit pickier with musicals, they can go, oh man, he liked that, so now I got to watch that because it's not normally his thing, and vice versa. And that in and of itself is a sense of community as well, just being with people who will actually enhance your life and enrich your life. And if that means with the characters in this film coming together at the bar and saying, hey man, let's make this film together as a community, it it's fantastic, man. That true sense of just not just belonging, because that's not, it's not even just that. I've never been lonely a day in my life, man. That's completely, but that sense of being a part of something, of this community, man. It's just something that I find so sincere and I find so touching. And this film really was just one of my favorite discoveries. I mean, I even don't even want to say the word discovery because it's sort of like, I've known about it for all this time, and I don't know. I can only speak for myself. I don't want to put this film in some sort of like light where I'm going to say you're going to think this is a great film or anything like that. Because somebody could come back and go, hey, this film, none of it worked. None of the character stuff worked. I thought this was bad. And I was like, hey, man, that's fine. I get it. I'm only speaking for myself. And for whatever reason, this film completely clicked with me and is one of my favorite discoveries of this year. And I don't have a whole lot of time left, but I'll try to sneak in one more accompanying film. And I want to talk about the documentary very briefly, A Labor of Love from 1975, I believe. And it is a documentary about, now I still don't totally get, I'm sorry, 76. I still don't totally get some of the specifics about this. This crew were making this film, The Last Affair, and then the distributors or someone was talking about they could only get financial backing if it included like hardcore sex, something like that, man. It's a very fascinating documentary. It's a short documentary. It's only about 70 minutes or so, but it follows this crew, more kind of fly in the wall. It's funny, actually, as I scroll down, it says fly in the wall documentary, and these people who, have not who are not adult film actors, but and we start to learn about the lives of some of these people and the complicated kind of on-set relationships. And I'm running out of time here, so I can't talk about it more. But it was a good companion documentary to this. I have the Vinegar Syndrome DVD list that might be out of print. I don't know. I got this for $5 during the one of the Valentine's Day sales. But it's a really good documentary that I think pairs very well with the amateurs, as well as of course like Be Kind Rewind and Sullivan's Travels I've talked about before. But anyways, I'm rushing through here because I'm looking at the clock and it's not on my side. So hey man, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful life. Go live it, man. We're so great to be alive right now. Live your dreams. Live every day to the fullest extent. God bless you, man. Take care. Be kind to others. Be cool. And that's all I got, man. Hey, take care, man. And drink water too.